Welcome to our latest episode of At CEEntre Stage. I'm your host, Sasha Papp. Today we're diving into the vibrant world of startups in the realm of mergers and acquisitions. Our discussion will revolve around the unique challenges and opportunities that startups face in this dynamic landscape. Joining us are our distinguished guests, Lucia Reich, who leads the startup ecosystem at Infobip and offers insights from the Infobip Startup Tribe program. Dragana Bajic, a partner of CMS Serbia, specializing in employment law with a rich background in startups, and Marija Zrno-Prosic, a partner at Bardec Lisac Mušec Skoko, in cooperation with CMS, known for her extensive experience in corporate M&A. Our guests will share their perspectives on how startups and investors navigate the complexities of M&A, the support structures that aid their growth, and the impact of innovative programs like Infobip's Startup Tribe. The world of startups is ever evolving and crucial for the future of business. So without further delay, let's step into the CEEnter stage and delve into these fascinating insights from our expert panel. Dragana, startups are no longer reserved for specific parts of the world, and the CEE region seems to attract more and more startup investments. Based on some studies, the value of startups in this region increased 20 times in the last 10 years. Is this part of economy as promising as it seems? What are your impressions?
Thank you. I believe that the trend of the startup development in the CEE is indeed very promising. And the examples from Serbia, Croatia, and other CEE countries seem to prove that. You already mentioned that the value of startups increased significantly in the last decade, and this is very important for this ecosystem. However, not also the number of startups is getting bigger and bigger, but unfortunately, not all of them succeed. However, this is a good sign because it shows that there is a very positive and encouraging atmosphere supported by the local success stories, and the local success stories are those which create value. I also believe that that the growth in the CE startup ecosystem is not just about valuation numbers. It's about creation of job opportunities. CE startups are among Europe's most efficient in terms of job creation per euro of venture capital invested. And this efficiency in scaling, especially new sectors such as enterprise software and gaming, suggests a highly promising economy, I think.
Great. Thank you, Dragana. Lucia, you deal with startups daily. How do you see the development and the perspective of startups in the region?
So CE has definitely emerged as a hub of innovation and entrepreneurship during the last decade, as you said, with more than 30 unicorns and ninefold increase in startup value. So even though the VCs have been more cautious with their investments in 2023, where we have like 1.1 billion euros compared to 2.2 in 2022 and 1.9 in 2021, according to Dealroom, CEE has still remained a talent-rich, low-cost and entrepreneurial land of opportunity. What we can say from our point of view, we have currently over 370 startups in our program, and 170 approximately are from the CEE region. And some of them actually grown to become the largest startups in their representing countries. For example, CEON, the largest Hungarian startups. And many others have managed to receive VC funding, some of them even in 2023, despite the so-called funding drought. So we still consider CEE to be a so-called startup goldmine. However, whether many of them will follow the American dream and move their headquarters to the US, of course, remains to be seen.
What are the most common issues that startups face in this region? Dragana, maybe we can start with legal perspective. Based on your experience, what are the key legal issues?
Well, whenever we start working with a startup, we usually always start with fixing the basics. So, due to budget limits and focus on commercial aspects of the business, the startup usually do not spend much energy on the legal aspects of the business. Creators are very passionate about their ideas, and most of their focus remains on the creative side. And in most cases, they're just not equipped to think about all the legal risks that they need to prepare against in order to protect and develop their project long term. They usually come to us when they've already been shopping around their idea, trying out something, but without making sure that their idea is properly protected. They share the details of their project with third parties, either without an NDA in place or with an NDA based on a template that they just found online. Or they establish a company based on an off-the-shelf shareholders agreement without any consideration for solving, potential disagreements and exit situations in the far future. This is usually these ventures started out as cooperation among friends that trust each other, but long term you need to think about all of the issues that might come down along the road, and all the problems that partners may face when they disagree on something that's important. So this is where you need to have lawyers that think ahead and have experience on what might come. Also, when hiring contractors, for example, the startups usually do it based on contracts that they also found online, and that do not provide an adequate level of protection of their IP. And this is especially important. This is crucial, and this is where we've come with a lot of problems for the startups that we've been working with. And these are just some common examples. The competitiveness of the employment market in this area, especially when we're talking about the tech talent, this has increased significantly in the last few years. So startups often also need proper legal advice on employment contracts, on equity compensation, on remote work policies. Also because protecting intellectual property in this landscape where talent is highly mobile, this is a critical area. So you also need to have a really, really solid non-compete and and confidentiality clauses. So this is all that we've been working with when aiding startups. If you do not deal with this at the beginning, then this usually results in higher costs, down the line when investors base their evaluations on the legal status of the business, and then they request additional legal actions to protect businesses. So it's better to do this, as soon as possible. There's also a lot of regulations that are different in country to country. When it comes to startup and developing of business, and luckily many countries are trying to make things easier for startups by adjusting their laws to this ecosystem. And Bulgaria, for example, did so very recently. So I just gave a few examples, because this is why we usually suggest our clients to ensure legal compliance as soon as they can, and not to underestimate the importance of this aspect of the value of the business. So networks such as CMS provide startups with support, such as Equip program that we're very proud of, which helps startups protect the value of their business on time.
Okay, let's continue with this idea of Equip program. that Dragana mentioned. Maria, could you please share more details about it?
Sure, Sasha. EQUIP is a legal accelerator program whose members benefit from a 50% discount on standard hourly rates during 3 years. This applies to all jurisdictions covered by this EQUIP program, which is very important for startups operating in more than one country. I can give you an example from Croatia. We had a startup that wanted to expand its business in the UK. They used this program, and thanks to this they managed to incorporate the company there and set up their business in a legally compliant manner without excessive costs, because as I said, they had a 50% discount during first 3 years. However, Equip is more than that. In addition to this financing aspect, it enables startups to meet with relevant market players. There is one recent example from Serbia. Thanks to this CMS business network, a startup from Serbia was given the opportunity to showcase their product to an US-based venture capital fund. I think that they are currently negotiating 1 million euro investment. Dragana, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think that they're currently negotiating it.
This program sounds very useful for startups. But what about startups which are not, let's say, there yet? Lucia, can you tell us more about the criteria that Infobip uses to select startups for the Infobip Startup Tribe program? And in what ways does the program support these startups? Financially or maybe otherwise?
So, since Infobip Startup Tribe is something that we call a perks program in the Silicon Valley, this means basically that we give free credits to startups that want to use our products and services. So we have to work with startups that are mature enough to either start using our products immediately or start implementing them within a few months. This basically means, since we are an omnichannel communication platform, that a product obviously must exist already. Otherwise, the development stage of the startup is just too early for our program. In this context, I guess you could say that we provide them with some kind of financial support, not in a way that we would fund them as an angel investor or a VC would, but we offer them free funds, which can be used on our communication services. This, of course, helps them focus more on their product development, marketing, customer acquisition without having to worry about additional costs, which, of course, is very helpful to startups, especially where they're trying to raise funds.
Thank you, Lucia. Let's switch to the other side of the story, an investor's perspective. Would you say that investments in CEE startups are more challenging for investors than in other countries? Are there any local particularities that come into play? Maria?
Sure. Well, when comparing the CEE region with jurisdictions such as the UK or US, there are noticeable differences. Based on our experience with CE startups, we can say that they are often adopt templates from these markets, which are not necessarily aligned with local legal requirements. For instance, in smaller jurisdictions such as Croatia, Serbia, or Slovenia, they tend to offer different classes of shares, convertible loans, options. However, considering that most are limited liability companies, this means that significant adjustments are needed. In practice, we as legal advisors help with adjusting these legal instruments to fit within local legal frameworks. While this is not something that hinders foreign investments, it definitely adds additional layer of complexity. In general, I would say that the potential for investors in the CE region is significant. I will repeat the sentence. So, in general, I would say that the potential for investors in the CE region is significant, but is underscored by its diversity. We are talking about many countries with different political landscape and history, resulting with different regulatory environments. This necessitates tailored legal strategy for due diligence and risk management. And here again, the role of legal advisors becomes very important because legal advisors help investors to capitalize on the region's potential while managing all these risks efficiently.
Lucia, if I'm not mistaken, Infobip is not only a supporter of startups, but an investor too. Can you maybe share your experience with investments in this region?
Although we formally do not have our own CVC yet, Infobip has made a strategic investment in the Croatian startup STEMI. So together with Damir Sabol, the founder of Photomath, Infobip has supported the edtech startup with 400,000 euros. While our relationship with them was also strengthened with a partnership. So each year we help them organize the Schools of Future, and we also are one of their program partners. But within the program, we also, although we do not directly invest into the startups, we do have over 150 VC partners. So we connect our startups with the partners in hopes of them, of course, receiving funding.
Great, great. What about the future? Do you believe this trend of increasing number of startups in the region will continue? Do you expect any major changes in legislation or otherwise that would further facilitate and boost this segment of economy, Lucia?
So we really see that there's a noticeable trend of growth within the startup scene in the CEE region. And of course, it seems to continue. So one of the most prominent trends we observe, not just in CEE, but in Europe, but I will say also globally in general in 2023, is the increase in female founders. And we believe that this shift is quite significant and is bringing a new dynamic to the startup landscape. Of course, another major development is the adoption of enterprise AI. So it's not just about the technology itself, it's how businesses are leveraging AI to improve their operations, to make smarter decisions and focus more on customer needs. And we believe that this adoption is a big step for the CEE region as it positions businesses here to be more competitive on a global scale. And all in all, these trends point to an exciting and evolving startup environment in our region.
Maria, your thoughts on this maybe?
I agree that the startup growth in the CE region will continue, though its intensity might vary across different areas. From legal point of view, a crucial factor in fostering this growth is legislative change, of course. But in addition to that, what is essential is making a business environment more attractive to investors. We are seeing some positive trends in this regard, with some jurisdictions introducing more flexible legal structures. Dragan already mentioned Bulgaria. They really are a prime example with their legislative change in 2023, which enabled legal entities with variable capital. In essence, startups can incorporate a company with lower capital requirements, reduced administrative tasks, more flexibility. So in the end, this legislation enabled starting of business in a more easy manner.
That's great. Dragana, your thoughts about the future?
The main challenge that we see for the CE startup ecosystem is in the employment sector, particularly in sourcing experienced software engineers. This challenge has intensified since 2019, partly due to the global shift towards remote working. And this shift has broadened the labor market, escalating this huge competition for talent. And now our startups are competing for talent, not just locally, but globally for the skilled tech professionals. And to address this, several Eastern European countries are actively working to attract their diaspora, aiming to strengthen their local startup ecosystems with experienced professionals from abroad. And legal frameworks are being updated to facilitate this return of skilled workforce and their integration into the local market. For example, in this area, Serbia has taken steps to attract digital nomads and considering measures to simplify visa processes and work permits. So this is still in the pipeline, but the government sees this as something where they should focus on. There's a clear need for reform in employment and investment laws to support the hiring of international talent further and to adapt to the realities of this remote and flexible working models, so those work arrangements. So yes, we are hoping for more legislative changes in that direction.
A lot of changes in the future, right? should be, hopefully. Yeah. Any final remark or suggestion, either for startups or for investors, Maria?
Well, for startups, let's start with them. Getting familiar with key features of a legal framework applicable to their business. This is crucial if they want to avoid unnecessary burden and costs later on. Staying ahead in legal compliance, especially in IP and employment law, is crucial. For investors, well, our suggestion would be to continue navigating the unique CE landscape with a focus on due diligence and understanding of the regional market dynamics.
Okay, big thanks, Lucia, Dragana, Maria. It was a pleasure. Thanks to everyone for listening. And if you missed any of our previous episodes, you can find them on CMS website or revisit, rewatch, re-listen them via your LinkedIn profile or wherever you watch or listen to your podcasts. Thanks. See you next time.